I can't even keep up with the news. G Treasury. The on-chain evolution led by Ripple and G Treasury is well underway, and with it comes paths for CFOs to consider as they begin their adoption journey. At the center of it all is ensuring choice and best fit options remain open always. Rather than making waves, the best treasury transformations allow options with measurable improvements that advance your operations without unnecessary turbulence or limitations from singular to outsourced paths. Ripple and G Treasury deliver evolutionary digital infrastructure options, serving hundreds of institutions across the globe with a combined 50 plus years of experience. Learn how CFOs like you can achieve transformational efficiencies, gains, and cost savings while keeping full control over their technology decisions and adoption timelines. You hear that key phrase in there? These fucking giant behemoths need that. We can help you, but like we can transition you so like you don't even have to kind of worry about the process. Like safe, efficient, you earn our trust, and then we onboard you to what we want to onboard you on because we built that trust. We got you on board nice and smooth. It was fucking seamless. It was nothing. Now you're in bed with them. That's kind of how business works. Not that I'm a business tycoon, not in any way, but it's like, I don't know. It's the ultimate game of you scratch my back, I scratch your back, and that's it. That's kind of like all it is. Like, how many jobs have you ever gotten, or know people, or have gotten people jobs, just based on the fact that you knew them, or they knew you? I don't know. Most jobs, at least in my experience, are literally comes down to who you know. Any job I've had has been based on who I knew. That's why like nepo babies exist and shit, and some of them just suck. But one, Maya Hawk's pretty good. The complete list of pending XRP ETFs: Bitwise, 21 shares, Wisdom Tree, Grayscale, CoinShares, ProShares, Tucrium, MEMX, Volatility Shares, Franklin Templeton. Just this month alone, guys. Just this month alone. It definitely seems like they're opening the fucking floodgate for something. Maybe I'm crazy that they launch however many that was. We just rattled off 7+ maybe at this point because we had Bitwise and then we had Canary go live. Dude, it's ETF Palooza, not just for XRP, for Solana too. Hence why I don't know how you can't look at those and go, I see what's happening here. I see what's happening there. They don't just give fucking 700 ETFs to something kind of in a really short period of time. We just saw a clip of the Canary guy talking about, yo, dude, yeah, because they broke the record from a small fucking firm. And he's like, yo, there's a lot of pent-up demand. No shit. Granted, the Bitwise one didn't perform more, apparently, than Canary. So David Schwartz and Bitwise, they had the spaces yesterday. I'm sure some of this is going to be crazy.
Interest around XRP and, why investors are kind of focusing on it now and sort of what the value prop is here, David. From your perspective, what would you say is the single most important investment thesis for XRP? I've heard for many years that it is, it's the speed, it's the cost, it's the settlement mechanism for cross-border payments. That's sort of what the token is known for. Would you say it's one of those, or is it something else that distinguishes XRP from Bitcoin, Ethereum, or Solana?
Good question. Eleanor's great.
I think XRP occupies a unique niche kind of between Bitcoin and Ethereum. XRP is the first blockchain built on any, that wasn't a clone of Bitcoin or Bitcoin itself. Dates back to 2012.
Improved Bitcoin.
Doesn't use proof of work. It uses what we now call proof of association. It was the first ledger, to have tokenized assets at the time called issued assets used for things like stable coins. It has a native decentralized exchange to allow people to move between assets. I think the value proposition of the XRP ledger for XRP is a curated set of financial primitives. So rather than the sort of free-for-all of platforms with smart contracts or the very, very limited functionality of something like Bitcoin, the XRP ledger has a set of financial primitives to provide useful services. We see it as a public good. We see it as something that you sort of can't partition off or own. And these features include things like escrow, decentralized identifiers, decentralized exchange, and so on. And so it's a platform for enterprises to do business.
Mm-hmm. Can you describe some of the other use cases, I guess, aside from making cross-border payments faster and cheaper, I guess, aside from the financial side of things, the payment side of things, some of these other use cases on the XRP ledger that are requiring the token itself?
So XRP has a unique position on the XRP ledger. It's the only asset that you can use to pay fees. It's the only asset that everyone can hold. It's the only asset without a counterparty. It's used as a bridge asset when two tokens don't have a direct trading pair. So if you're trading between two assets where there aren't a whole bunch of people who want to trade in the other direction, the network will automatically route the trade through XRP to improve speed or pricing. You don't necessarily see it as a user, but XRP does work behind the scenes to make those markets more efficient. And you see that as an XRP holder in the form of increased liquidity and increased ability to trade. There's settlement for tokenized assets like real world assets and stablecoins. They frequently need a neutral asset to settle between them. XRP acts as that settlement layer, making exchange between these assets smoother and more cost effective. And it's not tied to any jurisdiction. So, it can be held, it can easily be acquired and held by anybody versus stablecoins which have ties to jurisdiction.
That's the key.
So XRP provides liquidity across pairs on the DEX and order books. And then there's also cross-chain liquidity, like with the XRPL EVM sidechain and cross-chain protocols like Axelar provides. So XRP can be used in other ecosystems as collateral, as liquidity. So there's a broad range in multi-chain DeFi. And I think what we're starting to see, growing in newer use cases around the permission DEX for institutional trading. So institutions can trade on a DEX while still meeting their compliance obligations, settling directly on the ledger, with the ledger providing liquidity and settlement. And then the lending protocol. One of the most key TradFi functions is being able to lend and borrow money. And I think it's interesting as a lender, particularly because it gives you the ability to get a reasonable return for an investment of capital. XRP can be used for collateral because it's fast, low cost, and native, and it's likely to be one of the more commonly used options. But the protocol will support, using other assets.
Mm-hmm.
He's spitting
so you
right
see
now.
more demand as the demand from institutional investors perhaps rises through the ETFs. Do you see that affecting the role of XRP on the ledger, perhaps just being used more, perhaps used more for collateral in these more traditional financial vehicle type ways?
I definitely think so. I think we're, in the early stages of DeFi, most of the use cases were focused around the speculative trading of digital assets, which it's a good thing, but it's nothing compared to the whole TradFi space. And so I think as we bring these institutional use cases into the ecosystem and onto the ledger, you're going to see that kind of growth of the use of XRP.
Bro, if you make any of these ones that actually do something tangibly, like, oh, this is like, they're going to do well.
Mm-hmm. And are there any metrics that institutional investors can use to track the utility of XRP?
The free market's coming, baby.
Well, I think the big one is, the market cap is obviously a huge metric. Currently, like $127 billion. I think looking at adoption by institutions for real world assets, companies like Guggenheim Treasury Services, Ondo Finance, Aberdeen, Franklin. The number of transactions processed is something like 4 billion transactions that the XRP ledger has processed. Settlement speed, which is just a couple of seconds. The number of new users coming onto XRP ledger, I think 500,000 new users brought in this year alone just from Zaman, which is just one wallet platform. And then I think we're going to be able to see, like, how do the ETFs do? How do companies like Evernorth and the digital asset treasury companies do? I think those metrics are going to be, is there institutional interest? Is there growth? And so I think, and then the growth of DeFi ecosystems on the XRP ledger, like Uphold, Axelar, Doppler, and those other companies.
I mean, there's definitely interest. They'll just from the fact you'd imagine that, I don't know why they launching fucking 8+ of these in 1 month alone. Does that not signal interest, at least on that front? And then the small firm launches one and breaks the record for 2025. There's interest of some kind there. I mean,
the number of tokenized real world assets. The XRP ledger just broke into the top 10 platforms for tokenized real world assets, and so we'll see all those metrics.
Awesome. All right, Matt, I'm going to circle back on this question about retail versus institutional. I mean, we have, let's see, 2,500 listening right now, and I'm sure a lot of those listeners are members of the XRP community, XRP army, whatever we like to call them. It's a passionate community, as you mentioned in the beginning. I'm curious, I wonder what the level of buying is that you see for this ETF. Is it coming from the retail side, at least initially, or perhaps for a longer time period? On the brokerage platforms, or are institutions going to drive most of the flows for this ETF?
Yeah, great question. The answer depends on your timescale. So on the day that an ETF launches, what you typically see in terms of buyers are retail investors and hedge funds. And the reason for that is that they can move with a push of a button. If you compare that to, say, a financial advisor, they may need to check with their client to see if they can move them into a new asset, or they may need to talk to their investment committee, or they may need to due diligence the ETF All of those things take time. They can take a day, they can take a week,
just
they
now
can take
got
a
on the
month.
scene.
For a large national account platform like Morgan Stanley, they could take a year or more. So that is a slower burn. So you typically see day one.
Schwab coming in fucking first half of 2026. These guys, they're slow to move, dude.
It's hedge funds and retail. And that is your initial bolus of interest, trading, and flows. And then you have this much slower burn of institutional long-only adoption that eventually becomes the dominant driver of an asset.
That's
but
what you
at least
need.
Out of the gate, it's very important to have retail and institutions. I should say something that's obvious to ETF lovers, but maybe worth reiterating. One of the beautiful things about ETFs is that you, as a retail investor, can buy the same ETFs that the Harvard Management Company, that the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund, that the largest institutions in the world get used to get exposure to crypto. So you do have both use cases, but for sure, initially, it's the fastest moving investors, which are retail investors and hedge funds, that you see moving into assets on day one.
Interesting. And then given that retail enthusiasm, how do you assure maybe cautious IRAs that the support that you're getting reflects genuine utility rather than just sort of like initial retail hype?
Yeah, you have to have a conversation with them about the nature of the asset and the nature of the opportunity. With something like XRP, I think you spend a long time talking about the incredible efficiency of the blockchain.
You gotta educate now. Education's it can do all these things. It can handle all your problems, baby.
The incredible low cost, the business type orientation, enterprise style applications that you see. And I think when you do that, they start to see that this is either one of the crypto assets that they want exposure to, or maybe one that they want to overweight in their portfolio. It won't be every investor that decides this is for them, but it will be a number. It starts with education. One of the things about Bitwise is we have a 20+ person sales team. They do 15,000 meetings a year with institutional investors. And XRP won't come up in every one of those meetings, but it will come up in a number of them. I'll tell you that when I go and meet with the largest financial advisors, XRP does come up. They want to know what we think. And now we can tell them, and now we have a vehicle that they can use to express that view.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can. That's a great clip. That's a fantastic clip. That's exactly what it is. I mean, it's like sales 101. Like, if you have this fantastic product, like on Shark Tank, they deal with all the time. And then they're like, yeah, I just don't know how to market it. So, but it's fantastic. And they're like, it is fantastic, but it's a marketing fucking scheme from hell if we had to try to market this. But now they finally have, like he said, oh, it's really great. Hey, if you want like a little introduction to it, you could dip your toe. We got this ETF thing literally right here. If you just want to do a little bit more research, it's right there for you. The education is now, people. The education is now. We just read that thing from G Treasury. That beautiful, all-encompassing product is looking more and more juicy. All hell breaks loose in Japan as the yen bonds crash ahead of gigantic debt-busting stimulus. You don't want that debt-busting stimulus, I'll tell you that. Bitcoin's biggest utility is its ability to tank the entire market so investors can buy altcoins cheap. I stand corrected. Bitcoin has crash utility. That is honestly true, dude. I reacted to this video and I didn't even realize, dude, I didn't even pay attention to the background. I was so locked into the bullshit. I can't believe I didn't notice this. He's in a fucking empty closet. But then DAI goes, I think it's a CNBC set. And that, yet again, these guys are the talking heads for the Bitcoin narrative. CNBC, like, it's one big world stage is what it fucking seems like. Granted, the kid could be a multi-trillionaire. He's just chilling in his brand new house. That's so fucking weird. Like, why? Like, you choose to do this interview in this room? You got a whole computer set up right here, or is it just a laptop? POV, you wake up in 2021 and ETH is the same price as today. Dude, everything's struggling right now. But I really am not worried. This shit has never fazed me because, like, I at least I think I know what I hold, never financial advice ever. But I'm so scarily confident in my positions. And like I said, during all this, I'm scooping up little tidbits here and there because I'm just weary if they want to keep dragging it on, so I don't just dollar cost average. That's kind of my motto always. But then, like, specifically when the markets are looking like this, I'm like, oh, that's a fucking fire sale, like from Call of Duty. Canary Capital's Steve McClard, XRP long-term hold.
Let's talk about market trends beyond that. When you look at ETFs for 2026, because I think a lot of investors now are thinking longer holding times,
of course,
in some of these risk assets.
That's investing, bro. Like, it's been a casino
because they've watched what has happened with Nvidia, with Robinhood, you know, and they're traditional investors out there now. So now they see an ETF and they're saying, wait, this XRP thing could really take off. What do you think the possibility of long-term ETF holders bringing that average up will be for 2026?
Well, I think it has a very strong chance. I mean, if you think about who's been buying, and I'll even say this, the very first day of trading of the XRP ETF, I personally bought that ETF.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
It's easy to buy, and I'm a long-term holder. You know, I'm not afraid of a dip in 2026. I'm holding this for years. So I do believe that there's a lot of other people, professional investors, institutional investors, that are going to continue to purchase these ETFs and hold them for a long time in their portfolio. So, a few dips here and there and market uncertainty isn't really going to drive people away.
Right. Well, and I think to your point is you got XRP up 300%, leading into the ETF year with the move that we've seen just in the past little bit. And of course, it has been one of those tokens that has been very consistent in being able to hold price, which gets into that question of, is it finally in a stabilized, range? Meaning, could it just go into stabilizing now that it's got ETFs backing it, institutional capital coming behind it? Or do you think there's an opportunity for some bigger moves in the future, much like what we've had this year?
No, I think there's a massive opportunity for bigger moves. And, going back a year or maybe it's a little bit over a year now, XRP was trading at around, 50 cents, and then it shot up to 250 after everything was settled in the courts and the SEC. And that brought it back up to a range where it should have been. So now that we're back to being, I would call this steady, that $2 to $3 range. But once now that ETFs have come online, and once the actual economy can stabilize, then I don't think that $5-7 is out of the question for price.
I don't think
so.
Either.
Short run being 1 or 2 years.
Yeah. I think I'm a little bit more ambitious about that, because exactly what it seems like right now is, yet again, the ETF money is leaving Bitcoin and the other shit, and it's going to these. These are garnering more interest. The product is now there, so these people can even offer it to their customers. The product is now there. It just, if you want it, it's just that we're going to tell you all it does, and it's in bed with a bunch of people that matter, essentially, doing very, very business professional things. Like when they offer that to, like, I don't know, the average Joe to put in an IRA, like, it's an easy sell, because they're just so polished, it's just compared to absolutely long-term hold. Guys, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, comment, turn on notifications to help out the YouTube video, support and join the group, The Minutemen, on Patreon. In the link in the description below, I post exclusive videos there weekly, and it helps fund the channel so we can do daily videos. I appreciate you. I will see you in the next one.